Hello! I didn't see you there. How are you today? Good day, and welcome to the channel, Northworthy Sagas and Stories. I'm your host Bragi, and today I'm here to tell you another old folk tale. And you may be asking, where is this folk tale from and what it is called? Well, the folk tale is an Austrian folk tale and is called Sweet Porridge. Now, a long time ago, many years and many seasons ago, in the land of Austria, in a small village of Valani in Saxon, in our native tongue of England, there lived a mother and a daughter. And they was very poor. In fact, they was so poor that day they had no food. And the young daughter, who was nothing but a wee girl, went out in the woods to go and look for some food. And she looked at some bushes for berries, but there weren't none. Wrong time of the year. And she went by a few apple trees, but all the apples had gone. And she kept on walking along an old path in the wood until she met an old lady, what we may call an old hag. She was bent over, all crooked, with a stick, and she saw the young girl and said, "Hello, dear." And the young girl said, "Hello," and said, "What are you doing here?" And the young girl explained, "Oh, I'm out, I'm looking for some food, we're very hungry." And well, the old lady, the old hag, well, she felt very sorry. And she said, "Oh, you must come with me and I'll give you something special." And at first the girl was a little bit suspicious. We've all been told not to go with strangers. But she did. She went along with the old lady, and the old lady walked along creaking, "Come along, dear, come along with me." And she followed until she came to an old little outbuilding, an old house in the wood. An old long house, very tatty. And the woman, the old hag, the old lady went in and she brought out a cauldron. Not just any cauldron, but a special cauldron. And she gave her a cauldron. She said, "Here you are, dear. You can have this cauldron. And it's even got a spoon." In this case, an axe. And the old lady gave the young girl a cauldron. And she said, "Well, this is a magic cauldron. If you speak the words, 'Cook, porridge, cook,' then suddenly loads of porridge will cook." And the young girl, well, she didn't quite believe this, but, you know. And then the old lady said, "But be warned, you must always tell the cauldron to stop cooking. And you must say these magic words." And the old lady looked at the cauldron and said, "Stop cooking, stop." And the young girl, well, she got this. And she was walking along a little way with the cauldron. You see it earlier. And, well, she was thinking, well, can this be true? And she was very hungry. In fact, she's not eaten for a few days. And eating is very important. And so she put the cauldron down on the path on the way back home to the village. And she spoke the words to the cauldron. "Cook, porridge, cook." And suddenly, porridge came cooking. A bib, a bop, a bibble. A bib, a bop, a bibble. And the hissing sound of the boiling cauldron. And luckily she had a pouch. And she had a nice bowl and a spoon. And she ate much courage. And she remembered what the old lady said. "Stop cooking, stop." And the cauldron stopped cooking porridge. And there was enough in there for her to be filled up. She got a good belly full of porridge and continued walking home to the village where she lived with her mother. And she came in the long hour. She said, Mother, I've got this magic cauldron." And her mother said, "Oh, I don't believe that. There's no such thing as magic cauldrons." And, well, the young girl put the cauldron down and said the magic word, "Cook, porridge, cook." And suddenly, bibble, bubble, bop. Bibble, bubble, bop. The cauldron was hissing and out of the cauldron came porridge. And then the young girl said, "Stop cooking, stop!" And the cauldron stopped cooking the porridge. And for the first time in a few days, her mother and her daughter, her dossier in Saxon, had a good belly full of porridge. And her mother couldn't believe it. She got a magic cauldron, and for weeks they did not go empty without food. They had enough porridge to fill them up, to not go without. But one day, the young girl decided to go out. She was skipping. "I'm skipping along, going out, mother, bye!" And she left. And, well, her mother was hungry. You know, it's late morning. So she went up to the cauldron, scratching her head. "Now, what is it I say to that cauldron? I can't quite remember. Oh, yes. Cook, porridge, cook." And then the cauldron started hissing. Bibble, bubble, bop. Bibble, bubble, bop. And suddenly there was loads and loads of porridge. And she got a nice big bowl. And she started to eat the porridge. But the old lady, the mother of the child, forgot completely what to say to the cauldron to stop it cooking. And the cauldron kept on cooking the porridge. Bibble, bubble, bop. Bibble, bubble, bop. Until the porridge started to pour out of the cauldron. And then it swung into the fire. And porridge started pouring all over the fireplace, the hearth. And no matter how many times the woman scratched her head, she could not remember the magic word to say to the cauldron to stop it cooking. And she looked around, her daughter was nowhere to be seen. She was out playing, as children do. And the cauldrons kept on making porridge. More porridge was flowing over the hearth now onto the wooden floorboards of the longhouse. And at first the woman was trying to scoop up the porridge and put it in sacks. You put some porridge in a bucket, you put some in a leather sack. She got her other sack, put porridge in there. She had porridge everywhere. But the porridge kept on coming out of the cauldron. Bibble, bubble, bop. Bibble, bubble, bop. And the porridge was flowing and flowing until eventually it got so much it went out the windows and out the doors of the house. And then it started going into the next door neighbour's long house. And then the street, the old dirt road going through the village, started to be covered in porridge. And no matter how many times the old woman scratched her head, at this point she wasn't in the longhouse. The longhouse was pretty much full of porridge. Everywhere, up to the beams, with porridge. She couldn't remember the magic words. And porridge was flowing down the street. There was people caught up in the porridge. There was a dog trying to eat the porridge. There was cats in the porridge. One man was being washed down the road on a piece of board. Another man was in a barrel trying not to get covered in porridge. Porridge was everywhere. No matter how far you looked in the village, all you could see was porridge. And this was quite a good sized village. Until that day later on, the little girl came skipping back. And she came skipping back, singing a song as you often do as a child. And she came to the village. But all she could see was porridge. And then she realised what had happened. And she managed to go round the back of the long house until she found her mother crying, saying, "Oh, what terrible mess I've made." And she went inside and she said the magic words. "Stop, porridge, stop! Stop cooking, stop!" And then the cauldron stopped. Even the little girl got the words wrong first. And it was said that there was so much porridge in this village that all the villagers had to eat the way through the porridge and eat all the porridge, which took days and days and days until the village was clean and there was no more porridge. The end of the tale. As for the magic cauldron, what happened to that? Well, we will never know. And I do find this a very interesting folk tale. And let's talk about porridge. I know Egil in this version talked about porridge, but was porridge a common food? Well, yes, probably was. If you had accessibility to oats, you can make porridge. And of course, honey was your sugar. So if you had a bit of coin, you could put a bit of honey in your sugar. You could put a bit of honey in your porridge. Didn't have sugar in those days. And of course you could put some nuts in there and some wild berries to make it a bit better if you're in the right time of the season. And of course we've all heard of the most famous folktale with porridge, The Three Bears. And I promise we will tell a version of that. Both me and Egil will tell a version, individually. And until we meet again, it is goodbye from me. But before we go, just to stay tuned a little bit longer, if you are new, hello, I'm Bragi. Welcome, and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're already subscribed, then just make sure that you're not being unsubscribed from YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a comment. Now there's two ways you can leave us a comment. You can leave it the traditional way, leave us a comment what you think about the folktale, your thoughts. Or you can just leave a comment, #folktales. Goodbye. And in the wise words of the Anglo Saxons, ik thanketh thee. I thank you for watching. You're awesome.